Hey guys, if you're following along, this is going to be chapter 3, Intro to List. Now, I just like to say I received an inspiration from the Python Crash Course book. I don't want to plagiarize exactly what they're teaching. Instead, I want to have learned what they taught and spin it up so that I can teach you what I now know and do it in a way that's more digestible, in a better way. I believe that they taught it quite well, but they could have changed some things. They could have made it just a little bit easier for somebody who's really new to this. And that's exactly what I'm doing. You don't need the book. Uh, I'm going to provide you all the instructions, all of the code in the comment section below in the description of this video. And you can literally just copy that, put that in a Subline text editor and just follow along with me. Okay, so that should also help you out if you're just trying to save some money. You're not trying to buy the book, but you're trying to learn Python, right? And you're trying to do it in a way that's off of from a reputable source. And so I can say that I've learned it myself from a reputable source, and therefore I'm going to be teaching it to you. So let's go ahead and get into this. So a list is a collection of items in a certain order. Lists can contain people's names, numbers, etc. Everything between the brackets is indicated as a list. So in here we have the brackets, and inside of that list we have the names of some Star Wars characters. In this first element index 0, and the index is just the location of where it's located. Just go ahead and follow along with me as we go into more detail about what index is. So here we have Darth Vader at index 0, and at index 1 we have Yoda, and here at index 2 we have Han Solo. Okay, indexes always start off with 0, and they go up in count. So we have 2 indexes here from 0 to 2. So we don't have 3. Also, I'm storing this list in the Star Wars variable. Then I'm printing that list out here, printing to the screen so you can see it down here. All right, great, let's move on. Okay, and so you can see the index in action. Here I have the Star Wars list, and I'm printing out only the first index value, which in this case is going to be Darth Vader, because like I mentioned earlier, it starts at 0 and continues. If I were to print this, you'll see exactly what I mean. Oh no, looks like we ran into an error. Give me one sec. Okay, let me fix this. Simply comment that first sentence out on line 1. It was indicated by the code that it was code, but it's not, it's comment. So I forgot to comment that out. All right, let's run this. And here you can see Darth Vader. All right, let's change this to index 1, because I told you it goes from 0, 1 to 2, right? So let's print out that. It should show Yoda, right? If that's the case. And it does, it shows Yoda. Let's print out 3 or 2. Sorry about that. And it's Han Solo. So again, 0 is Darth Vader, 1 is Yoda, and 2 is Han Solo. Okay, great. Okay, so we can access elements by the position of the index. And when I say element here, I'll fix that. Index. Okay. And so here, as we mentioned earlier, we had 0, which is Darth Vader. And we can also send that to a method. So here I'm sending it to the title method. We'll see how that looks. Okay. Righty, let me take a look at this real quick. And here we forgot the parentheses. So whenever you have a method, the way you could know that it's method is typically you'll have your variable, right? And then before you have a dot, and then you'll have the method of types. On this type, it's title. And then after that, you'll have some parentheses that are open and closed, right? So I know if I have that, then it's a method. And I'm simply passing the first index value, which is Darth Vader, to this title method so it can capitalize first letter in the first word and first letter in the last word, since these are seen as a name, right? So your name, whatever your name is, you'd have your first letter capitalized, last letter capitalized, right? Actually, first letter capitalized for the first name, and then last name, first letter capitalized as well. So here you're seeing that the V is undercase, but when it prints out to the screen, that V is capitalized. All right, great. And down here, we're actually grabbing the last item on the list. So you can also do a -1. So here I'm putting all of these names in a list. Then I'm printing that list and I'm saying grab the last item, -1. And so it grabs Han Solo and prints that to the screen. That's what we're seeing down here, Han Solo. All right, great. All right, here we have again our Star Wars list. And this time we are going to create a string sentence. So the F is for format, and then you have your sentence here, and it says my favorite Star Wars character is curly brace, Star Wars, and then you have a bracket with 0. So I'm grabbing that first index value, which is Darth Vader. And I'm saying that to the title method. So capitalize the first letter of the first name, first letter of the last name. And then I'm printing that out to the screen. So let's give that a shot. And I did just that down here. All right, great. Let's go ahead and move on. All right, so again, here we have our list, and we're going to print our list. So when we do, it should show what we see up here. And in this situation, what we're going to do is we're going to change that first index value, which is Darth Vader. We are then going to change that to Luke, and then we're going to print out the message. So here's the message, format, and it's a string because you have the double quotes. And after the double quote, you have my favorite Star Wars character is, and it's going to insert the value at index value 0. So that's going to be Luke because we just changed it from Darth Vader to Luke. So all you Rebel fans are liking that right now. And then we're going to send Luke to the title method so that we can ensure that the first letter in the first word is capitalized. So when we print that out, it should look like so. You see the list, and below that, you see my favorite Star Wars character is Luke, right below that. Okay, here we're appending elements to the end of a list. So we have our Star Wars list, and I'm just going to grab that real quick. All right, so we're going to append 3CPO to the end of the list. Append means it's going to put it at the end of the list. So let's go ahead and run that. And now you can see 3PO is at the end of the list there. Okay, so what if I want to delete an element from the list? In this case, we want to delete the index value of, we'll try 2 instead of 3 there. So it's going to get rid of Han Solo. So let's go and give that a try. And so now we don't see Han Solo on the list anymore. So again, I changed that to a 2. You could change it to a 1 and continue on with deleting any items from the list. Okay, so the pot removes the last item on the list, but it lets you work with that item after removing it. You might have an app or game that removes an object. You may want to replace that object in an inactive state. Pop allows you to work with items you have removed from a list by removing the last item in the list. So when we use pop by itself and we're not trying to specify any specific index value, right? So just this is pop right here. What it's going to do is it's going to remove the last item of the list, okay? And when it removes it, it doesn't totally delete it. So we can still work with that value if we were to, put in a variable. So if we were to take that Star Wars list and pop the last value, which we'll just remove Han Solo, then we were to store that popped value, right? Han Solo, we're able to store that value we just removed into a variable. Okay, so we're basically taking Han Solo and putting it in like a bucket kind of deal here. And what if we want to work with that with Han Solo or the data in that bucket? Well, how would we be able to do that? Well, we can do that through pop. So here we can see when I run this, you'll see Han Solo is going to be stored in this variable. We just put it in this bucket. It's going to be stored in there. So it's still accessible. We're still able to manipulate it and do certain things with it. Now, this can be really useful if in this case you had like a game, right? And you were to delete, let's say one of the characters got shot. You want to remove that character, right? But you still want to work with the value of that character, right? Maybe you want to put that character in a waiting lobby or something, right? I'm just using this as a really simple example. So we still want to work with that variable, and the way we can remove it but still work with it is to pop it, okay? And so that's basically what that does. So let me run this. And I'm gonna move this over a little bit so you can see. But it says Darth Vader, right? So this first one is just printing out the list. So we see Darth Vader, Yoda, Han Solo. And then this is now going to remove the second list. You can see Han Solo has been removed. So we don't see Han Solo there anymore because it's been popped. But then we print that popped value, which in this case is right here, right? And we print that on this third line down here. You can see Han Solo. So even though it's been removed, it's no longer in the list because we popped it at this stage. It's still accessible, and we're still able to access that popped value, right? And you can see the underslash here, so it's popped Star Wars. So what really caused that value to become popped is to just take that list and then dot, and we're passing it to the pop method. And if you remember earlier, a method is just us passing some code to basically a pre-developed method, and they all have different names, and they're already pre-built in Python for the most part, so you don't have to make them on your own like some other programming languages. And later down the line would probably teach you how to make your own method. But for now, these pre-made methods just make it very easy for us to code, right? To just call them, and in this case, we're telling pop, hey, I'm gonna pass this value Han Solo to you, and I want you to take it as input and do something with that to create an output. And in this case, it's taking that last value and it's just storing it in this variable, right? So it's taking it off the list and then it's storing it in this variable. Then we're able to call that variable down here. And when we call that variable and print it to the screen, you can now see Han Solo, right? We'll go into more detail about pop in a bit. So I thought this would be a good example. Pop in a list of movies and storing the pop value, the last value in the list, in a variable popped movies. Right, put an underscore to that. Actually, popped. Oh, gosh, where's my? Here we go. Popped. There we go. And putting that stored value in a sentence. So Top Gun just came out, Top Gun Maverick. Watched it in movies, it's very good. So I like to use that as an example here. So we have a list of movies and they're just Top Gun movies. So we have Top Gun, the original that came out in 1986, and we have the recent release sequel, Top Gun Maverick, which came out in 2022. Okay. So what we're going to do here is we're going to take that list, we're going to pop that last value. So it's going to take that last value Top Gun Maverick 2022. And it's going to store it in this popped movies. Okay, so it's just going to store that last value in this variable called popped movies, right? And then it's going to print, format, and here you see a single quote, you got a double quote, single quote. In this case, we're using a single quote to indicate a string. The sequel, and then here you have the curly brace and popped /movies, and we're passing it to the title method, so it could ensure that the first characters in the words are capitalized, and then another curly brace to end us basically inserting this variable into our string was released, and then end quote and parentheses here. So let's see what this shows. The sequel, Top Gun Maverick, was just released, and as we know, it's the most current release, and it's also the last value in this list. We took that last value, put it in this variable, and then insert the variable into the string, and it shows it down here, Top Gun Maverick 2022, right? Okay, so what if I want to take a certain index value from my list, right? So let's say I'm trying to make a sentence, except I'm trying to not pop the last value. I'm trying to pop the first value or the middle value or whichever value that is. I'm trying to pop a certain value. In this case, I'm trying to pop the first Top Gun that came out in 1986. So here we have our list, popping a certain value in a list, and this is just a comment. And below it, we have Top Gun 1986 and Top Gun Maverick. Oh, actually, okay, looks like I put the list twice. All right, so we only need that once. Let's go ahead and delete this. All right, and we have movies popped, because remember this is a method, except now within the parentheses, we have a 0 right there. So that's index value 0, which is Top Gun 1986. And we're storing that in the popped movies variable. Then down here, print, format, and this is a string, the original popped movies title, which is going to be that first Top Gun. Was a great movie for its time. Okay, so let's go and print that out to the screen. The original Top Gun 1986 version was great for its time. It was great for its time. All right. All right, what if I want to remove an item from the list? Okay, so here we have our list, Star Wars characters, and then now we're going to remove Darth Vader. So we specify we want to remove that Darth Vader, and we're going to print it. So now if I showcase that, you don't see Darth Vader in the list anymore. Here I'm doing the same thing, except this time I'm going to create my list. Then I'm going to store Darth Vader in the Sith Lord variable, right? And then I'm going to say from the Star Wars characters dot remove and Sith Lord. So it's doing the same thing. It's removing Darth Vader, except I'm referring to the variable name Sith Lord. Then I'm printing the Star Wars characters, and if I do that, it's the same thing. Darth Vader is now removed from the list. So here's my little challenge, and what we're going to do is take each value in our list, and we're going to place it in a sentence. So here you see the first message, format, Star Wars character, index 0, title. So it's going to capitalize the first letter. First letter. And that's just going to say Darth Vader became an agent of Sith. And then the second one is going to refer to the first index value here, number 1. So now when I mentioned indexes earlier, if you kind of got lost, this is a good way for you to visualize that, right? So let's go ahead and print this to the screen so you can see. So Darth Vader was an agent of evil, right? So he's at index 0, and you can see it here. It's referring to 0. Then below that, it's going to refer to 1. And it's going to say which is Yoda in the list, right? Yoda was one of the most legendary, renowned, and powerful Jedi Masters in the galactic history. And so that's 1. And what about 2? Han Solo. So Han Solo shot first, right? So let's go on and move on to the next challenge. So here I'm going to change value in the list, changing Yoda to Luke. So we have our list here, and we can see Yoda's index 1. We're going to change that to Luke. So we have message Star Wars 1, or actually rewind. So up here you have, we're saying from that Star Wars character list, element 1, which is Yoda, go ahead and replace that with Luke. And then here we're printing a message out. This message 4, format string, of course, Star Wars character 1, which should be Luke, right, since we changed it. And we could have the same sentence, was one of the most legendary, renowned, powerful Jedi Masters in the galactic history. And when we run that, we run into an issue. What's going on here? All right, give me 1 sec. Okay, forgot to comment that. All right, yep, so there it is, Luke instead of Yoda. Okay, and adding a character to the beginning of a list. So in this case, I'm going to add Obi-Wan to index value 0. And so it's going to replace Darth Vader with Obi-Wan. And referring it to the list, I'm saying it to the insert method. And the insert method, index value 0, and the replaced value is Obi-Wan. Then I'm going to print that out. So we should see Obi-Wan has now replaced Darth Vader, right? Actually, that hasn't replaced Darth Vader, so adding a character, right? So we added Obi-Wan to the list. Sorry about that. So we're inserting a new character to the list. So adding a character to the middle of the list. So here we have, let's include our list in there. Okay, so we're gonna add a character to the middle list. We're gonna add Leia. And now when I print that out, go ahead and print that out. You can see that we have Leia inserted at element 3. So she's inserted at the very end of the list. So we have Star Wars character dot insert. So we're passing to the insert method, position 3, and then the value of the character we're going to insert, which is Leia. Then we're going to print that out to the screen. I just realized I put it at the end of the list, right? And I said I was going to show you how to do it in the middle. Very easy. Just change that to 2 or 0, 1. Yep, 2. And now we see Leia in the middle. So you could just change this index value. So I could change it to 3, and now it's going to put her at the end of the list. Right? You can change it to 0, put it at the very beginning of the list. And that's how you're able to change where that character is located in the list. Now you can also append a character to the end of the list here. I don't like to append them to the end of the list in this case, because if I try sorting the list later on and I append Stormtrooper to the end of the list, you'll notice that that last character, which in this case Stormtrooper, will not be sorted, right? So if I want to sort this later on, and you appended a character rather than just inserting it, you're going to have issues with sorting it later on. So just something to keep in mind. Okay, so here you can see Stormtrooper at the end. What if I want to remove Stormtrooper from the list? Well, in this case, we added Stormtrooper earlier, as I mentioned, we appended it. If we want to remove it, what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna insert this code down here. I'm gonna print it. You can see that we appended it in the first list, we removed it in the last list. We simply just use our Star Wars character list, dot, send it to the remove method, which then removed the value Stormtrooper, and then we printed that out to the screen, and that was that. Let me put that back down here. There we go. So this is just comments, right? Okay, so let's go ahead and sort this list, right? Because right now we just have Darth Vader, Yoda, Han Solo, and Stormtrooper. What if I wanted to sort that alphabetically? So I'm going to take the Star Wars character list dot sort. So I'm passing it to the sort method, and then printing that to the screen. So as you see down here, that list is now sorted alphabetically. Now, what if I wanted to reverse my sorted list? So instead of, sort it backwards alphabetically. So you can just use the Star Wars .sort method and just set reverse to true, and then it'll go ahead and sort that in reverse. So here we're gonna sort temporarily. So we have Star Wars characters, Darth Vader, Yoda, Han Solo. Print, here's a list, so we're gonna see that list. And then we have print, double quotes, backslash in for, that's gonna break, it's gonna create a break. So you're gonna see space between the lines. Here is a sorted list, then we're going to have a colon there, print sorted, and we're referring to the Star Wars list down here. So we're going to print this list sorted down here. So let's see what that look like. All right, so here's our list unsorted. Now you can see Yoda's in the middle. Here's the list sorted. So you can see Yoda at the end. Okay, so here I have my Star Wars characters. I'm going to set Star Wars characters reverse. And so it's going to reverse the, doesn't reverse it alphabetically. It's just going to reverse anything I may have done to the list. So let's see here. We got Star Wars Han Solo. Actually, it will reverse the list, but not alphabetically. Okay, so you can see Han Solo's in the ends of this list. Now we put it in the beginning of the list. Yoda's in the middle. It's still in the middle. Darth Vader's in the beginning. Now it's at the end. So it's just reversed it, but not alphabetically. Okay. And then here we're just gonna reverse it to just revert it to the way it was before we reversed it the first time, right? So we reverse it again, right? In this case, what it's going to do, it's going to undo whatever changes that we made, and it's going to show the list exactly like it was in the beginning up here. Okay, find the length of the list. So here you have Star Wars characters, the list, and we want to figure out how many items are in the list, or, so we got 3. This isn't counting the index values, it's counting the elements of the list. And the elements is just a fancy way of saying the values. So we have that first value, second value, and the third value, right? It's what's in the list. So when we print that out, you're going to see 3 down here. Okay, solving index errors. So in this case, we have our list here, right? We know from the beginning that this is 0, this is 1, and this is 2. Okay, index values. If I specify I'm trying to print the third index value, there is no third, right? I mean, third would be after that, after Han Solo, but there's nothing after Han Solo. So it's going to cause an error. So you may find this in whenever you're coding, so you can see it's giving me this error. So what we're going to do to fix this is we're going to count the length. Okay, so what you're going to do is you're going to comment this code out, and then you count the length. And I'll just comment this one out so you can see what I'm talking about here. Right. So we're going to print that. And so we know the length is 3. So we know that when we're counting the length, it's not including, well, it doesn't refer to the index or anything like that. It has nothing to do with that. It's just counting how many elements are in the list. So let's minus that. Let's subtract it by 1. So 3 minus 1. What does that give us? 2. So we know that the list begins at 0 and ends at 2. So then I know, okay, there's no 3. So if there's no 3, then what I'm going to do, I'm going to comment that out. I'm going to delete it. And then I'm going to say, okay, what I meant to do is I meant to print Han Solo, which is the second element in the list. So let's try doing that. So now we can see Han Solo down here. So this just may help in the troubleshooting of, whenever you're trying to find out how many items do I have in the list, and what is the position of the value I'm actually trying to print. All right, guys, if you like that video, please like and subscribe. I'm going to make a chapter 4, and it's going to continue on with working with lists. This is going to get a little bit more complex. All right, thank you for watching. Bye.